And we are back. For you guys who are just tuning in, this is the Water Shoe. My name is Walter L. Robinson, the curator of the Water Shoe, and that is the name of the book. The Water Shoe is Serious Work, and we're here advocating the basic history of the Water Shoe. Okay, this is what we want to get into is the psychosocial elements associated with the Water Shoe, the deeper meaning, the deeper meaning. Why hasn't the Water Shoe surfaced? Why are there no books on the library bookshelf about water shoes? Why the word is not in the dictionary? Although we see a lot of stuff on YouTube, we see a lot of stuff on the internet. You look at the internet and you punch up water shoes and you get a lot of these little rubber booties that you walk in, you walk on water or walk in water and we call these water shoes something we call a non-floatable water shoe. But we're interested in the deep floatable water shoes, and it's so obscure until there's a case of, well, is the thing real? Is it not? Is it some kind of sideshow or whatever? What is it? But let's start at the beginning. If we notice in our history books, well, if I notice in my history book, or if we notice in Western history books, if you look at, say, study world history, or pick up a world history book, the perspective is from the point of view of the European mind. In other words, the majority of the people in the book are Europeans, and the majority of the Europeans in the world history book, in the Western world history book, is the male European. We're not saying that's wrong. We're just making an observation. So the world history from the Western point of view is projected from the Anglo male European perspective. And maybe that's good, maybe it's not. I think early on this was the case. Europeans, talking to Europeans about what they perceive to be, well, new ideas and what they've done, and this was mainly the case. So the Europeans are talking about what they discovered in this and that and all over the place, and it's from a European point of view, and it's about Europeans. So prior 1900s, 18, 14, 15, 13, 12, on down, all that was great because maybe that's the way they did things, and this is the only people they were concerned about, and so that's what they did, and all that's great. But here we are in the 20s, 21, it's 2012 going to 2013, and we have this internet, and now the world has changed. When where is the rest of the world? The perspective that only the Europeans, great painters, philosophers, psychologists, mathematicians, scientists, astronomy, astrology, and all this European male. And that's great, but in 2012, where is the rest of us? Where is the rest of us? I'm watching the clock up here, so I don't run over 10 minutes. Where is the rest of us? And so the deal is to, as we go forward, let's look at what happened to the Chinese. Yes, of course. In world history, they mention the Chinese. In the last page on the last, the last sentence on the last page. And they mention blacks, yeah, and it's always, we kind of, on the last page and all that. And the Eskimos and the Chinese and the Mexicans and all the rest of these people and all this as a footnote, or we perceive it to be as a footnote. And back in the old days, of course, that's great. I guess it was great because we weren't on the big stage. But now that we're on the larger stage, we're looking for, well, let's put a little color. let's put a little color into the dynamics. And what has happened, because things were only skewed to the European mentality, they've had a tendency to manipulate the history a little bit, until you get this history that's a bit askew. And we're running up on we're running up on it a little bit. It becomes a bit askew. That means that they kind of pleasurize a little bit, until the thing is not balanced. In other words, a good example is Cristobal Columbus. When I was in elementary school and middle school and high school, Columbus discovered America, and this is what they said, and this is what we believed, and all this stuff. Columbus discovered America. But then we find out that Columbus did not discover America. Columbus never reached America. He reached the Caribbeans, and so the thing get kind of skewed around a little bit, and the history is kind of skewed around a little bit because they want to make themselves look great, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if I was a big guy, I would go, so I would want to make myself look great. But what happened down the road in the history book, that this gets kind of skewed to the left. Sir Isaac Newton, a great mathematician, but of course I stand on the shoulders of giants. We realize that he's getting a lot of stuff from the Chinese, from the Arabs, algebra and all this, and he's adding stuff to it. But for some reason they don't really acknowledge where this stuff is coming from, and so you get a bit of a skew. The Wright brothers invented the airplane, but nobody ever said anything about the kite. Nobody's ever said anything about the windmill. Nobody ever said anything about where the internal combustion engine come from, and a lot of other things, gliders and all the rest of this stuff that goes into the making of the airplane. We only say, well, the Wright brothers did it because they're American, and we as Americans want to punch up America, and so the thing is askew because it's not as, we could say, well, the Wright brothers did a lot of work on the airplane and all that, and they were the first kind of get the thing to fly. But there's a lot of other people worked, and there's a lot of other nationalities worked on this airplane, and they through books and other media, the Wright brothers got some information. They were able to put this stuff together, and there were a lot of other people working on this airplane. And let's give credit to a lot of other people, but because we're Americans and we want American heroes, we kind of, disregard or don't say or whatever the other groups. And we'll be right back.